Welcome to today's webinar training, CoughDrop, an Introduction to Cloud-Based Augmentative and Alternative Communication. Scott Walquist of CoughDrop will be our presenter today. CoughDrop is a cloud-based augmentative and alternative communication app that works across devices. This app will be available in the Assistive Technology Lab at Utah State University if anyone would like to come here for a live demonstration. I'm Jolynn Lyon, and I will be your moderator. This is brought to you by the Utah Assistive Technology Program. If you have technical questions during the webinar, contact the USU Information Technology Help Desk at 435-797-4357 or 877-878-8325. Do not call me. I won't be able to help you. To ask the trainer questions, click on the Ask a Question link at the bottom of the AggieCast page. Use the participant login using your first and last name. In order to receive a certificate of attendance for this training, you must be verified through the chat function. Ask a question at the bottom of the screen during the live training. We cannot make exceptions to this. Please use your real name and let me know you want a certificate. After I have verified this back to you, email the mailing address where the certificate can be sent to me at utahatp@gmail.com. After this webinar, please help us out by filling out a survey about your experience. The link is in the instructions you received for this webinar. Thank you. And now we'll turn the time over to Scott.
Yeah, appreciate it. I wanted to introduce to you the augmentative and alternative communication app, CoughDrop. What augmentative and alternative communication does is it allows you to be able to, if you have a hard time, somebody that has a hard time communicating, they know what they want to be able to say, but for some reason their mouth is not able to say whatever their brain is trying to say. They can use a type of app to be able to say it for them, so they can say,
I want Cheerios, please.
And it can speak for them. And that's been around for many years, but CoughDrop has actually been able to make some added improvements or some changes to that. And so I'm going to go into a quick background of who we are and why we added some cloud features to it, and then get into the actual app itself. So this is Brian. He couldn't be here today, but Brian is the founder of CoughDrop, and this is his daughter here. Brian graduated from Brigham Young University, and he graduated in computer interface, and he created a company out of college called Instructure, which created a learning management system called Canvas. He had some issues with a certain learning management system that they were using at the time, and so one of the projects that he created to deal with some of the issues of Blackboard, the professor basically said, yeah, that works well. You should try it and see what happens, and it worked well enough that he and the co-founder made it into a company, and it worked very well. They now are used by several, lots of colleges across the nation, and several school districts across the nation. And so they went public and did quite well. And at the same time, after they went public, he was able to go on and start a new project. And this is his daughter. She has Rett syndrome, and she's in a wheelchair with poor motor control and nonverbal. And about the same time that he was looking for a new project, they were starting to look at AAC, the augmentative communication, and trying out different devices and apps and things for her to be able to communicate. And he just had a lot of issues with what was out there. Felt a lot of it was clunky and just hard to learn for parents, and hard to be able to program. And so he wanted to see if he could make some things a little bit easier. And so he decided to create CoughDrop. And then I'm the other guy there, and that's my son. His name's Adam, and he's 12 years old, and he's nonverbal and autistic. And he also uses AAC, and several years ago, our school district gave us an iPad and said, we hear AAC is really good for those that are nonverbal. And unfortunately, they didn't know much about it at the time, and so they just said, there's a few apps out there. Go try it and let us know how it works. And so we went and found out what the most popular one was, and went and purchased it. And we were a little overwhelmed at the same time, so we went and basically put in our own pictures and pictures of his favorite foods and his favorite toys and his family and the favorite places that he likes to go, and we use it that way, almost like a digital picture exchange system, so that he could request where he wanted to go or what he wanted to do. And so not the best way to be introduced to AAC, but it did help cut down on a lot of tantrums for him and a lot of frustration for him and a frustration for us as parents. But one of the issues that we had was that everything was, that app, or most of the apps out there, were tied to a specific device. And this one was tied to just iPads or to iOS. And when he gets really happy, he likes to throw his iPad around. And so he'll throw his iPad, and it does a lot of damage to him. And he basically ruined his iPad. But yeah, he still wanted to communicate with us, and he didn't have a way to do it. And so he would come up to me with my Android phone or my wife's Kindle or our laptop and all of these other things, and wanted to be able to continue to communicate with us, but he couldn't do it. And so it was really frustrating to me, because I also have spent many years in the technology industry, in the cloud industry, and I wanted it to be just like most things, where they're cloud accessible and you can access your app along any platform. And so I started to look to see what was out there, and that's where we found what Brian was putting together, CoughDrop. And so we became a beta tester for him. Liked it so much that I joined the team. So here we are. We are a couple of parents that use AAC. And so one of the things that we decided to do was, we knew that we're parents, and we knew how to make it more accessible for people to use across all different devices, no matter what they owned. If a school owned an iPad, but the parents had a Kindle, we wanted them to be able to use it with their kids. But we didn't want to come up with strategies as far as the communication itself. So we reached out to several different speech paths, and about 50 speech paths and OTs and special ed teachers and all of the professionals across the country, and said, what would you like to see with AAC? What's some of the issues you have? What do you like about AAC? What would you like to see better, different? And so they were the ones that helped us put this app together. And one of the things that we found was the fact that they didn't want to have to take the kid's voice away to make changes. They wanted to be able to do it from their laptop and be able to just have it sync to the device, no matter what it was, whether it was a phone or an iPad or whatever. They wanted it to be able to sync. So they wanted to be able to use the cloud. And what was also interesting was, they said, there's a lot of different apps out there. What we found is, whatever the strategy that we use, it's not going to work unless you have mom and dad and the teacher and everybody else on board supporting this kiddo, or supporting, if it's an adult, if you don't have the whole team of caregivers or whoever around this person supporting this person, it's not going to work for them. So we need some type of way to be able to support, to build a very strong team around it. So we kept that in mind as we put the app together. So what I'm going to do is actually just jump right into the app itself. So one of the things that we did was we made CoughDrop web-based also. So you can actually access it from the app stores along any of the devices. So I can pull it up on my phone, on a Google, on an Android phone. I can pull it up on an app or on the app store there, or on my iPad or my iPhone. There's the apps.
Juicebox.
Oops, Juicebox. Or I can pull it up directly from the web. So what you're seeing is what somebody would see when they first log into CoughDrop. Let me log out. So somebody that wants to start out can go to mycoughdrop.com and sign up for a trial account. And they can sign up for 2 months and just try it out and play around with it. And they can try it on the web, or they can download it on whatever device they want, because it's a free download. And then once they have forgot that this isn't my computer, and so I'm not signed in automatically. What this view is when you're gonna first sign in, it has several suggestions of different types of boards that you can start with. And so you could start with, these are boards that have been put together by different speech pathologists, different professionals. And so we've got everything from a small core-based 24-button board. Core is the average person speaks 80 to 90% of the words that they speak are 80 to 90% of what the person speaks are going to be the same 100 words throughout the day. And so we've got the core words right here. And so we've got a core 24, which is a very small based core group of words. Core 60, which is your this one is probably one of our most popular ones, all the way up to a core 112, which is your very robust board that a lot of people will start with. And this isn't going to be that much different than the other apps that are out there. It's going to be able to speak. It's going to be able to say, I want to, and it will even open up into further categories. Eat. And if you click on the speech bar, it'll say the whole sentence for you.
I want to eat.
I want to eat. Okay. And so that part's not that different, because what we've tried to do is use what's already out there as far as the strategy of core works. But we also do have category-based boards where you can put all of your pronouns, verbs, and things into different categories that people can easily access. We even have things as simple as yes, no, just to be able to get people to start very easy with choices. If you find a specific board that someone likes to start, you want to start with, then you can just go to More, make a copy, and then set it as your home board. Once you've set it as your home board, then it's going to, anytime you click into the app, it's going to open into speak mode each time you go into there. So the communicator, if they're on their iPad, they're not going to see all of this each time they go into it. They're going to go directly into speak mode. One of the strategies out there is to be able to have as many buttons as possible, to be able to access as many words as possible.
Header.
But
Row 1. Row 2. U. Row 1.
I pulled up the wrong one. I need to quit looking at that screen. To be able to have as many squares as possible, but to be able to hide a lot of them. Because what that does is you can start with a few words. So I still have all of the words right here in one spot. I haven't lost any of the words, but I've hidden a lot of them. So if you see, I can go into Edit and click Paint and hide a lot of these buttons. So I'll go through, and I like to do a lot of this on my web browser, on the web, on my laptop, and then I'll save it, and then it will just sync to my son's device and my device and all of our other devices so that we can start modeling immediately. You can still do all of these that I'm doing straight from your device. I just think it's a lot easier to do all of the editing and all of the creating boards from my laptop. And I'll be able to show you when I create some boards how it is quite a bit easier to do that. But as you can see, these pictures haven't disappeared. These spaces haven't disappeared. So the I and the me and the my are still in the same spot. So as I start to add more vocabulary to the communicator's boards, when I click Edit again and Paint and Show, the I, the me, and the my won't move. So once they've learned where those spots are, they'll still know where they are even though I'm adding these new words to their vocabulary. So it makes it very nice for them in that even as I'm adding new things to these beginning communicators, especially for the preschool and the younger kids, if I'm trying to teach them beginning AAC and I only want to start with a few buttons, you still want to start with a very large, robust board, but maybe only start with a few buttons at a time. So we do have that a bit availability. The other thing that you can do is a lot of people don't want to have, they don't want to have just a symbol. They may want to be able to put in their own pictures. So like this is my son's, for instance. He eats, majority of his foods are crunchy carbs, crackers. So if I only had one symbol of cracker, it wouldn't help him. He eats, well, right here, we've got Cheez-Its, Goldfish crackers, Wheat Thins. And so I had to go in and put in my own pictures. And so you can do that with CoughDrop. You can either do that with Google Images, or you can take pictures directly from the device. If you're editing the board, you can take the picture right there from whatever device you're on. So if you're doing it with either iPad, you can use the camera right there. If you're doing it with your phone, you can do it with the camera right there, which makes it really nice because I was making, let me back up. So with the old app that we used, I would have to, if I took pictures from my phone, I would have to take the pictures, because it was an Android phone, I would have to take the picture from my phone and then email it to myself, then pull up his iPad, pull up my email, and then download the picture, and then pull up his app and upload it into his speech app. With CoughDrop, because I have CoughDrop on any of my devices, because it's cloud-based, I can just take a picture from my phone, put it right into CoughDrop. I have it right here. I have the exact same boards right here on my phone. So I can just take the pictures right here, put it into here, and then anytime we're near Wi-Fi with our other devices, it just syncs automatically to it. So it syncs, once I've taken the pictures from my phone, it syncs to my son's iPad and to my wife's, her Kindle, and to my daughter's Chromebook, and I'm the one that took it, and I have an Android. So we are a multi-device household. And what we're finding is more homes have multi-devices. And what we wanted to do was to make sure that people could access their own boards no matter what they had at home. So, for instance, if a student was given an iPad by the school district, a lot of school districts have iPad initiatives where they'll give an iPad to the kid, and they'll create boards for to the student. But if the student leaves his device at school or at home, he won't have access to his boards. So if you've created this food board that's specifically for this student, he's not going to have access to it if he's left his device at school. He's not going to be able to communicate. He's basically left his voice at school. With CoughDrop being in the cloud, if he's left his device at school, or if the battery dies, he breaks it, he just grabs any other device. It doesn't even have to be an iPad. It can be a Chromebook. It can be a Kindle. It can be, you name it. You log in, whether on the app or on just the web itself, let it sync, and he or she can start communicating immediately. This is also important to the older, say like a stroke victim, or someone with ALS, somebody older who already has their own device. A lot of these people already know their iPad very well. They're very familiar with it, or they may know their Kindle, or whatever they have, their phone. They'll come in with that. If they can put on CoughDrop onto that immediately, they can start communicating.
We do have a question, and it's mine.
Okay.
Do you need to do anything differently when you are using the system with adults?
Yeah, to a point. So a lot of times the adult users may not want. A lot of these starter boards are geared towards a beginning communicator. So an adult may want to, if they're coming out of rehab, they may want to be using like the hospital board, or they may want to create a board altogether with specific phrases that they're using at home. So you don't have to just do a specific word by word. You can do full phrases. You can put in your own pictures. And so a lot of the older adult communities, adult users will use their own unique boards. And I'll show you how to create boards in just a second. So great question. We also do have just a keyboard. And so what's great about this, if you've got an older adult who has the ability to type, they can start typing, and even has word prediction. So if you see here, I typed in TRCK. I didn't even type in the vowel, and it is asking me whether I want track or truck or trick, and so I can just pick which one. Oh, I wanted truck.
Truck.
And it says truck. So yeah, usually adults aren't going to, the majority of them are not going to pick the pre-made core type boards. They may pick more of a category based board. But yeah, we do have the core based boards that are more on personal care and people, or where they want to go and things like that they can start with. So great question. But we do have all of these that people can look at and use. As I said, if they find one that they like, they can just go to more, make a copy, and set as home board. Once they make a copy, then they can edit it and put in their own pictures or move them around. move buttons around. Say, I want these there. Whatever they want to do, they can add to it, swap them. They can even add more buttons. Say, oh, I want a whole nother row. Now they've got a new row for even more words. The other thing this does is, because this is all cloud-based, we keep track of data. One of the things that we were asked for by the speech pathologists and the teachers is, can you keep track of the progression of the AAC user? And we asked what type of data do they want. And they said, well, we have things called IEPs, where we need to be able to show growth over time or usage. And so we actually do have where you can pull up what's been going on over the past 2 months, or you can pull up a year ago compared to now, or you can compare, but you can actually see how many words per day they're using, how many new words per day they're using, what words they use the most. So here's my son's. You can tell he's my son because he likes food. That's what he's using the most. But he's also, we're starting to add, as we've started to understand more of the core words, we're starting to add more of the nouns and the verbs and the adjectives and things. Yes.
We have another question. This is from Denise Winters. Are there any pre-made boards with ASL or American Sign Language?
Not yet. We've been asked to find some with the ASL symbols into them. We haven't found any yet, but we're still trying to integrate some of those in there. If you find any open source symbols, we'd be happy to integrate it into it. But as of today, no. But you can put in your own pictures if you've got them, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can also see what time of day it's being used. So this one is really important to me because what we're trying to do is build a really strong team around the communicator, and we want to make sure it's being used at all time. One of the things, well, for instance, when I was a kid, I used to take piano, and the only time I would practice piano was at the piano lessons. And I never got any better. And my mom couldn't understand why I wasn't getting any better, and my teacher couldn't understand why I wasn't getting better. And it's because I never practiced. And if my mom and my teacher had actually talked to each other and said, you know, what's he doing throughout the week? Or you know, I had assigned him to do this, and he needed to do this so many times per week. You know, and they had followed up, or they could leave notes for each other or see when I was practicing, I would now know how to play more than Marion Has a Little Lamb. But unfortunately, I didn't have somebody, you know, other people that were communicating very well together. It's the same way with AAC. A lot of people are expecting the speech path once a week with their 1 hour. There's the speech pathologist with their once a week working with this kid or this adult to be able to help them somehow automatically understand AAC. It's just not going to work. You're going to have to build this whole strong team, meaning the parents, the teacher, the speech path, everybody else is all going to have to work together to make sure it's being used more than just once a week. And so if everybody can see what time of day it's being used and make sure that it's being used, even me as a parent, I try a little bit harder because I know that my son's teacher and his speech pathologist and the OT and all of these other people are all looking at it, and they're relying on me to do my part and almost use it as homework. Because me working for CoughDrop, it's still easier for me to just let my son when he gets home, I'm like, well, okay, he knows his way around home. He doesn't really need to be using his AAC device at home. He can find his way to his Cheerios. But if he's not practicing and you learning how to use his voice at home, how is he going to be able to use it when he gets out in the community? You know, when he gets to the park, or when he gets to grandma and grandpa's, how's he going to be able to say, I need water, if he can't ask for it at home? So that makes me, as you can see here, I try a little bit harder, because I know that the people at school are watching what I'm doing at home. So we also can see where on the board they're clicking. So that's the activation heat map. So if you've got somebody who, this is my son's again. He's very good at hitting his whole board. But if you have somewhere on the board that is, say, white or gray, say the bottom quarter, and they're not touching it at all, it's just blank, then you need to take a look further at why is that. Can they just not access it? Can they not reach that far? Or is there a wheelchair handle blocking it? Or is it words they don't like? Is it just words like broccoli? You can dig down further into why is that. Or do they have issues crossing midline? If so, you can start to work with them on that. Another question.
We have another question. This is also from Denise. Can any user make changes and additions? And if so, how do you keep the boards consistent?
So we have different types of supervisors. We've got read-only and edit-only. It's kind of like Google Docs. So if you are putting a team together, you have to talk with the team and decide who has the ability to make changes or not. Most of the time, it's usually the professionals that make the changes. Occasionally, you will have parents that want to make changes, and that's the discussion where you have to explain to them, either this is your part, here's a folder I made for you where you can add in your own words. Don't touch the rest of his communication, his or her communication boards, or don't touch it at all. If somebody does mess it up, we can go back and use an earlier version, so they haven't lost anything. But yeah, you will run into that, and we do have times where people will say, I don't even want them touching it. It's kind of a rough conversation to have, because if you want mom and dad involved, and mom and dad want to be able to have editing privileges, it's better to educate them as to what they can and cannot change than to just say no. But if the school is the one that's purchased the app, usually it's just easier to say, here's your you have read-only access, and you can just give them read-only access. So let me actually show you that right now. So what we've done is we set up supervisors for each AAC user. So that's something unique to CoughDrop only. Is a communicator is the paid account. All of these other people, the supervisors, are free logins to be able to help. This is the team that we wanted. As we talked about, it's not going to work unless you have a strong team built around them. So we want you to give supervisor powers to mom and dad, or the speech path, the teacher, all of these people. You can give them all free logins to be able to access from their own devices. As you can see here, I've got my son's speech path, his teacher, an aide, and those parents. As you can see, the teacher and the aide, they can make changes. They have editing privileges, whereas she does not. I call this the grandma and grandpa account. I want them to be able to pull up from their Kindle and model with my son, but I don't want them touching their boards. I don't want them screwing anything up. So yeah, the question you had there is, can you give them the ability to access their account but not make changes, you bet. And the way you do it is you add a supervisor, and if they already have a username, you just type in the username, and then you can click right there. This supervisor can make changes for me. If they don't have a username, you just add a username, give them a name, a username, and give them a random password that they can change later. So just change, make a CoughDrop or something, and then tell them they can go in and change it once you give it to them. But then decide right here whether or not they can make the changes for them. So yeah, you can definitely decide whether or not they can make those changes. But what's more important is you're building this team that can model with this kid, no matter what they have at home. These days, they've got something at home that they can pull up and start to have this conversation with their kiddos or with the adults. And what's great about this is we're finding more and more that it's important to be able to model with these people, with these communicators, but it doesn't mess up any of this data if they're doing it from their own devices. So all of this data would be all of my son's hits, all of his button presses, because I'm not grabbing his device and having to, with most apps, you're having to take away their device and model with them and then hand it back to them and then have them do it. With ours, I can be doing it from my own device, and then it doesn't mess up any of this data. The other thing that we do is, as you can see here, I've got a whole list of the people that I have on my client list. So what I've got here, this is not something that you would see from the average communicator. So when my son gets into CoughDrop, it goes right to his speech board. He's ready to start communicating immediately. Whereas when I go in as a supervisor, as a speech path, or as a teacher, I'll have the access to all of the kiddos that I have on CoughDrop. So they're all right here. So if I'm working with my son and I'm teaching him how to use or how to request foods, for instance, I can go to his board and teach him how to ask for these foods. But then I'm moving on to student number 2, and this is the exact same thing that I'm going to see from my iPad. If I'm working from my iPad and I'm working with different students, this is the exact same thing I'm going to see. I'm just going to switch communicators right here and say, okay, now I'm going to work with this student. And their exact boards are going to come up. Whatever I've already set up for them is going to be right there. So it makes it very nice for me, especially if I'm working with a student only once a week. It's all here right on my device. And I don't have to say, I don't remember what I've already set up for you. I need you to sit over in the corner for the first 5 minutes of our session while I look at your boards. You could be looking at this in the morning before you even start working with them or whatever. It's the same way with all of the reports that we looked at. You don't have to be taking away their device to look at what's been going on over the week. The piano teacher didn't have to go back and look, and if my mom had been going through each day and saying, yeah, he had been working these many days, piano teacher didn't have to wait all week. She could have been pulling it up on her computer and seeing that I'd been working each day type thing. Other thing you can do is leave messages for each other. So you can actually see what he's been saying all day, but you can also leave notes for each other. So I could say, remember one of the strategies that we talked about was this, or we've added new words and this is really working well. I want you to try it. Or we've changed this strategy or whatever. You type this note in and you save that note, it's going to go out to every single person that's been assigned as their supervisor. It's going to be send an email or a text, whatever you've set up as the way you want to receive messages. It's going to go out to that whole team. They're going to get it immediately so that the whole team will be on the same page. So just another unique thing about CoughDrop. So the fact that you have all of your clients right there makes it really nice. The fact that you can create one board. So my son, his teacher will make a board, say about the calendar or the weather. I want to make a board about the weather. She only has to create it once, and then she can share it with all of these students that she's over, all of their usernames. And it just syncs to all of their devices. She doesn't have to go to each of these AAC users and recreate this board. That's pretty unique. She can also share it to usernames of other CoughDrop, other speech paths or other teachers. If she creates a board that she thinks other people are going to like, she can just share it to their username. And she can decide whether or not to give them editing privileges or just read-only privileges. So let me do this. Let me show you how to create a board. Because I believe, did we have a question on that? I don't remember if we did or not, but.
No.
Okay. Well, so you can create unique board from your top right corner. This is why I like to do most of my board creating or editing from my laptop and let it sync. You can create it directly from whatever device you're on, but for me, it's a lot faster to create it from my laptop. So I'll go in and click Create a New Board and say, I'm going to make this about a certain subject, we'll say. So this one I'm going to make it on, we'll say, sports. And you decide how big of a board you want to make it. So this is where we talked about, some of the adult users that don't want to use the pre-made cartoon boards. They can go in and create their own boards here, and they can make it on phrases if they wanted to, or specific things that they need, their medicines if they want to. But they can go and say, okay, I want to make it 10 buttons, and create the board. And so this gives me a blank board, and it's going to put in pictures as I start to type. So I'm going to go basketball. What else we got? Baseball. So as you can see, it's putting in a default picture for them. But if you don't like one of the pictures, you can go into one of the buttons and look at more pictures. So you can press search. Let's take a look at there we go. And say, I like this one better. We've got a whole, there's a whole, for like the visually impaired, we've got some they're made by a certain group called Sclera that are just for the BI group. But as you press search, you can pick whatever one you want. Close. And we use open symbols, so all of these are free symbols. I like this one instead. whatever you want to do. As you can see, this is a lot faster than what you're used to with the other apps, of having to go in on your iPad or whatever and have to type in each of the words. See what's throw. The other thing you can see that it's doing is it's painting it according to what's called the Fitzgerald key, where it's trying to give it a green is your actions, orange is your nouns. It'll try to recognize what you're trying to set up there. But if you don't think somebody is going to like the symbols and they want their own pictures, they can either go into one of the buttons and take a picture directly from the device, or if they've got pictures already on their device, they can upload them right there. Or what I like to do, this is the other reason why I like to do it all from my my laptop, is I'll just pull up another window and see if I can, oops, and say, let's find one on lacrosse. Say, okay, I like this picture right here. I'll just do Google Images. Oops. Maybe I just drag and drop it right into the button there. And it's already there. If you're on your device, you can still use Google Images, but you'd have to go to Google Images, press copy the image, and then open this up and paste it into there. So it's just a few more steps, but it is all available if you've only got the device itself. Another thing that you can do is you can open it up to another board. So you can make this button just say foods and then have it linked to a whole board of foods. If you've already made the board, you can just type in foods and it'll find it, or you can create a new board called foods and do exactly what I've been doing. And you can have it go down further into as many boards as you want. Or you can have it open up into like a YouTube video. So let's say I want to go to a video about tube trains for kids. Let's find a short one.
Welcome
So we'll
to
say
Train
I
on
like this
Plane.
one.
Play
I
along
can
with
just
us. What do you think this is?
copy this,
Is it
or
a
actually I could have
train,
done it from
or
here.
is it a plane? It's an electric train.
Oh, I don't have the sound. It's probably playing the whole thing for you guys, isn't it? Sorry. And I just paste it into here. So that now, let's change this. The whole page it's just thinking. I think I'm going to have to go back into CoughDrop. But usually that's going to pull up. Well, that's fun. The internet just crashed on me. But I did it for my son right here. I'll show you. So I made a whole page of him for him, so he can pull up signing time, and it'll start playing the video for him, and he can entertain himself right within CoughDrop as long as he has access to Wi-Fi on that page. So that's another question we have. Because it's cloud-based, does that mean they need access to Wi-Fi? And the answer is no. You only need the Wi-Fi if you're creating or editing or sharing boards. But once you've let it sync, you don't need access to Wi-Fi. So the user can actually go out into public. They can ride the bus. They can go to the park or whatever and use their device just fine. But yeah, anytime you make a board and you share it, anytime somebody makes changes, then you will need the Wi-Fi to access those. So, but the whole cloud definitely made our lives a lot easier in the fact that my son's teacher no longer had to say to me, I need to add words to his device. He's getting better, but I don't have enough words in there. I need to add words to his vocabulary. So you need to leave his device with me overnight. That, as a parent, is horrible, because what she's asking you to do is leave his voice with her, that's absolutely horrible. With CoughDrop, because it's also web-based, she can be going in and making whatever changes she wants to on the web while he's riding home on the bus. And then when he gets home near Wi-Fi again, it just syncs all of those changes to his device. She's never taken that voice away from him. We have another question.
Yes, this is from Brianna. Is there a way to search and see whether a word is on a board or in a folder on a board?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, because my son knows his board a lot better than I do. Or, if we're trying to get other people to model with them, they're not going to know their boards. So if I'm trying to find where pizza is, you just go to the top right and you hit find a button. Say, I want to say pizza. So where's pizza? Oh, it's right here through the eat. Oh, there it is right there. Pizza.
Pizza.
So it will actually lead you through to where it's at. So yeah, if it's already been created in there, it'll lead you through the whole pathway. Even if you've built it 3 or 4 levels down, it will lead you through to where that button is. Any other questions? Okay. So one of the questions we have typically is how much is it going to cost? What we did was we give you a 2-month trial. We don't want anybody having to purchase it without knowing if it's going to work. So we want you to sign anybody up with a 2-month trial, and then we have either where they can purchase it outright for $200, or they can pay $6 a month. So usually if an organization is going to pay for it, they don't like the monthly, but sometimes the parents are going to be the ones that purchase it, and they can't do the $200, and so, or they may want to trial it a couple more months or after the 2 months, and so they'll continue to pay the monthly for a couple more months. But that is per communicator, and so You can actually have it on multiple devices for that communicator, and it's just the one cost. So we recommend that, put it on several devices and model with them, with their boards. And it's not going to be any more money if you've got a home iPad and a school one. Put it on several. That's great. Let's see. Another question that we typically have is voices. What type of voices do they have? So we actually have boy, girl voices, adult voices. We have different languages. So you could do it like Spanish, Arabic, German. So you can put in different languages. We even have like fun voices like Scary Guy and Cowboy and things. We do have Switch. It is Switch available. Switch access, eye gaze. It does work with the different eye tracking devices. And so if you have a speech generating device that you already have, if you pay to have it unlocked, you can use it with CoughDrop. Or if you just have one of the eye tracking devices or one of the eye trackers on just a Windows tablet, it also works with CoughDrop. You can make different changes with preferences according to the specific user as far as button spacing, if they need further spaces in between and font sizes and all of that. That's all in preferences. Same with things like if a specific user drags their finger around, where they lift their finger off is where it's going to say whatever the word is. Or if somebody stims on a button, it's going to be the first time they hit the button. Or if you want to teach them to hold their finger down to a specific time, they have to hold it down for so many milliseconds before it says a button. That's all in here, and you can just go in and check out the different preferences in here. We've tried to put as much of that as possible in here. We even have different modeling. As I mentioned, it's not going to show the different hits the different touches if you're on your own device and the communicator is on their own device, but occasionally you're going to have to show them from their own device. So you can put in here that if you want to model from their device and you use 2 fingers, that it's not going to show your selections. So if they still just use 1 finger, it'll just show theirs. So just lots of different things that I would recommend going in and playing with, some of which will transfer along to all of the different devices they're on. Some are just specific to it, like the voices are specific to whatever device they're on. So we're about at the end of the hour. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to go to mycoughdrop.com and sign up for a trial account, play around with it. You can always reach out to me, Scott with 1 T. My parents were school teachers, so they couldn't afford the extra teeth. So it's Scott at mycoughdrop.com, and that's my phone number. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions. And I appreciate the time, and hopefully I was able to show you some unique features. AAC has been around a while, but we think that utilizing the cloud and a lot of these analytics and tools will make the AAC experience a lot better for the different users out there. So appreciate the time.
We'd like to thank Scott. We will make this webinar available on our YouTube channel. It will be archived. And again, thanks to everyone who has joined us today. Bye-bye.